Привет всем, с вами я, Jenny, at the College Russian. So in today's video, we are going to be introducing a new case, which is the dative case. And I'm going to walk you through a method that I use to try and make new grammar a little less intimidating. So you're going to get to experience this from sort of the point of view of as if you were in my classroom. This fall, I'll be launching an online course in honor of my 40th birthday. Yay! So that's going to launch this fall, and it's an entire online college level course that you can take. And today is a sneak peek of how I introduce new intimidating grammar. So let's talk about the dative case today. So what I like to do when we're faced with scary grammar is PCP. It's not this kind of PCP. Sorry to disappoint. This isn't that kind of YouTube channel. It's this kind of PCP, which means perceive, comprehend, produce. And this is usually done over several days. And I find that this helps bring down anxiety because Russian grammar can be very intimidating. So today, as we introduce this new case, the dative case, we're going to be first working on perceiving. Perceiving. What do we perceive? So what does that mean to perceive? What that means is to be a spy, right? So look at my cute little Soviet era spion down there in the bottom. So what do spies do that make them successful? They notice patterns, right? And then also based on those patterns, they can start to predict behavior. Also, they get to use all sorts of cool doodads and feel really smart and sneaky and cool, right? So we're going to do that because you're going to start noticing these patterns. Today is not the day where you have to memorize dative endings. If you pick them up by the end of the lesson, awesome. You're a good шпион. Молодец, хороший шпион. But if you still get to the end of today's lesson and you're like, I still don't know what's happening, then tomorrow is where we will do the comprehend part of PCP, and we'll break it down and I will explain everything to you. So let's get started. We're going to look, since we're very much in the Cold War mindset, we're going to look at a couple of Soviet era propaganda posters. Okay. So we've got Slava первому космонавту Юрию Андреевичу Гагарину. Okay, so that means glory to the first cosmonaut, Yuri Andreevich Gagarin. Okay, next one is Спасибо родному Сталину за счастливое детство. Do you have like your special spy doodad thing on your eye? And are you starting to notice any patterns on the ends of these words? Also take note of, is Yuri Gagarin a masculine or a feminine? Is Stalin a masculine or a feminine? And just start noticing some things happening there. Okay, two more propaganda posters. Slava советской женщине. So a женщина is definitely a feminine. Let's look at the endings on those. Next one, Slava советской науке. So glory to the Soviet woman, glory to Soviet science. The original of these would be советская женщина, советская наука. And so we're saying glory to something. Lastly, мы завоевали счастье нашим детям. So we won, in the concept of like to win a war, we won happiness for our children. Children is a plural. Are you noticing any endings on the end of those? All right, maybe you need a cup of coffee and you still gotta figure it out. So I'm gonna give you then a mission. Okay, so this is your second mission. Below are things that are in the dative case. Okay, so start to notice if you can see what's making these sentences need dative case, and also see if you start to notice how words change in the dative case. Again, you don't need to memorize this. We're just being observant today. We're just perceiving. No pressure to comprehend, no pressure to produce. Okay, so the way you would ask somebody how old you are, you would say сколько вам лет. Okay, next one. Мне, Jenny, мне 39 лет. Так, у меня 4 детей. Моему сыну 13 лет. Моей дочке 10 лет. Так. Another fun one. Наша учительница, я, Jenny, наша учительница начала изучать русский, когда ей было 19 лет. So our teacher, Janie, started learning Russian when she was 19 years old. Did you notice a pattern in all of these sentences? Наш шпион is noticing there's a whole lot of stuff happening with age. And you seem to express age a lot with this word let. He's seeing a pattern there that when he sees let, he also seems to see dative case. Он молодец, умница, да? So hopefully you notice that same pattern, and we will have an actual lesson where we practice this age concept. Good. Okay, so now our шпион is going to have another mission. Вот. Next one. Find the words here that you believe are in dative case and see if you can see what's making them need dative case. What's the tendency? What's the pattern? Okay, so, например, почему тебе не нравится country-музыка? Why do you not like country музыка? Мне не нравится country-музыка. Мне не нравится country-музыка. Next one. Я покажу тебе, какие подарки нравятся всем девушкам. Интересно. I will show you what kinds of presents girls like, all girls like for that matter. Следующее. Этому русскому мальчику не нравится жаркий климат во Флориде. So this Russian boy doesn't like the hot climate in Florida. Okay, so did you notice any patterns? Did you notice any patterns? Наш шпион, вот что он заметил, вот что он нашел. So he's seeing that when we see this word нравится, it seems to force dative case. So when you're saying that you like something, you're getting dative case because you're saying to me or to you, country music is not pleasing. It is not pleasing to you. It is not pleasing to me. So that's how you say you like something in Russian. It is not pleasing to me, or it is pleasing to me. And hopefully you're noticing a pattern with this. To me, for me, etc. Следующий. See if you can find the pattern happening in this one. What's the pattern that's getting repeated in all these sentences? Наш сосед по комнате никогда не убирает. Our roommate, or our neighbor by room, never cleans. Так, следующий. Мы гуляли по городу. We walked around the city. Так, следующий. Он хочет ездить по всему миру. Он хочет ездить по всему миру. He wants to go all around the world. Следующее. У нас сейчас практика по русским падежам. У нас практика по русским падежам. We're having practice on Russian, on the topic of Russian cases. On the topic of Russian cases. Okay, so do you notice anything that's getting repeated? Any pattern? And I love students that observe patterns because they're always the best language learners because you don't have to teach them very much. You just give them the language and they take it all apart and they figure it out and they start producing. And that's awesome. Not all of us are that talented, but I'm trying to help you build those muscles of observance. Okay, so what что нашел наш шпион? So he noticed this sort of pattern. По. After по, I seem to see dative case. Okay, so something about this preposition по tends to get dative case. And then those are all those words he's seeing that seem to be in dative case. So again, an observant student would start looking at those and going, okay, so городу, maybe masculines tend to get an U ending. Maybe feminines get I don't know, I'm not sure on feminines yet. And that's okay. Again, today we're just perceiving. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you some more uses. By the way, if you want a really useful worksheet that goes along with this that all my students are currently using in university, you can go to collegerussian.com. The link is down below in the description box. Вот, следующий. So when you need something in Russian, it is necessary for you. It is necessary to you. So, например, ему нужны деньги. So you're literally saying money is necessary to him. He needs money. Ему нужны деньги. Another one. Этим студентам надо заниматься часто. these students need to do homework often, потому что русский язык им трудно. Yeah, because Russian is difficult for them. Next meaning, again, right now, we're just learning. And then if you start to notice and memorize the endings of dative case words, great, awesome, молодец. Tomorrow's lesson is going to be super easy for you then. Okay, next one. Я еду домой к моему другу в декабре. So this декабре, I don't think that one's in dative. That seems to be more like prepositional, which we already know about at this point. So I'm going to rule that one out. And then let's look at the next sentence. Вчера мы ездили к бабушке на дачу. So dacha is a feminine, ends in an a, but yet back over here it was комната, but this one is in a ye. Okay, so I don't think dacha is in dative case because you're going to the dacha. Oh, but look at this. К бабушке. К бабушке. Okay, so when you have к going to somebody, to visit somebody, to see somebody, you do к plus dative case. К родителям, к другу, к врачу, и так далее. And then another one, and by the way, on the worksheet that's available on collegerussian.com, there's a lot more usages as well. Not all of them. It's not an exhaustive. I'm not dumping all of it on you. But there are more that are going to come in handy for you at this level in your Russian. Следующий. Мормонам и мусульманам нельзя пить алкоголь. So something being можно, allowed, or нельзя, not allowed. Вот. Мормонам и мусульманам нельзя пить алкоголь. If you're in one of those religions, you know that Muslims and Mormons are not allowed to drink alcohol. It is not allowed for them to drink alcohol. Next one. Бабушке можно отдыхать, она много работает. Да? Let your poor grandma rest. Grandmas are allowed to rest too. Okay, so бабушке можно отдыхать. Babushka is allowed to rest. She has worked hard. Okay, so it is allowed for babushka to rest. Следующий. Okay, so this one is the really hard one to grasp because in English we don't do a good job making the distinction of what's our indirect object, what's our direct object. We used to 1,000 years ago, but those cases have disappeared from our language. However, they still remain in Russian. And I'll show you why this is extremely important because you can really make some funny mistakes if you're not careful. So indirect object is when something is for someone or to someone. So you just saw this. Например, слава советской женщине. So glory to the Soviet woman. How about this one? Мы завоевали счастье. We won happiness нашим детям, for our children. Okay, so that one's a little tricky. I feel like I need to dive deeper into indirect object. So let's look at these sentences and see if you can figure out what is the direct object here and what is the indirect object. And if it's hard for you, I'm going to break it down again, and then you'll come back to it and you'll feel a lot more comfortable. Например, я куплю моей подруге носки и свитер. I'm going to buy my female friend, моя подруга, socks and a sweater. Okay? Are we buying socks and sweater for your female friend? Or are we buying your female friend for your socks and sweater? Right? So the word order and the case you give, I don't ever give my socks and sweaters gifts. So, but I do give socks and sweaters as gifts. So again, this is where grammar helps us to clarify some awkward things. Американцам трудно понимать русскую культуру, но им интересно. Правда? Да, я согласна. Американцам трудно. It is difficult for Americans понимать русскую культуру, to understand Russian culture, но им интересно. But it's also interesting for them. For them. It's also interesting for them. Номер 3. Я покажу тебе, какие подарки нравятся всем девушкам. So I will show you what kinds of presents are pleasing to all girls. What kinds of presents do all girls like? Okay, so maybe this isn't clear why we're getting indirect object in these sentences. So I'll show you. We'll break it down. Let's look at this. So a funny joke. I learned this the hard way. I was trying to tell my friend, приходи когда-нибудь в гости, я приготовлю тебя, я приготовлю вас. And she's like, нет, я не хочу. Ты меня приготовишь, я не приду. So what I said to her accidentally is I was telling her to come with her husband. I said, я приготовлю вас. Meaning I just said to her, I'm going to cook you for dinner. I'm going to cook you for dinner. And so she jokingly said, нет, тогда я не приду. Like, okay, well, I'm not coming then. That's scary, right? So what I should have said is я приготовлю вам ужин. I'm going to make dinner for you. And that is where you can see. And so I accidentally said, in the same way that if we change the word order in English, I'm going to cook dinner for you versus I'm going to cook you for dinner. Whoa, those are two totally different things. Somebody's not going to want to come to your house if you say it one way. So in English, we heavily rely on the order of the words in the sentence. But in Russian, you don't worry about the word order so long as everything is getting the correct case. So let's look at some of this in English. This is going to make more sense to you. This is going to help you pick out the indirect object in a sentence. So for example, she read the children a story. I'll make you some coffee. He bought his girlfriend a car, for example. Or we'll do this one. So he told my husband what to buy. Okay. So the way we break this down is we break it into like as if we can't hear somebody and we have to have them repeat every little thing that they say. So she read the children a story. Huh? What did she read? A story. Direct object. That's our direct object. What did she read? A story. Who did she read the story to? The children. There's our indirect object. Again, we have to break these down into like, you know, person who can't follow anything or who's ADD like me, who's not paying attention. Break it down. And then you can see the indirect object coming through. Okay, next one. I'll make you some coffee. What will you make? Coffee. Who will you do it for? Me, you, I'll do it for you. Okay, next one. He told my husband what to buy. What did he tell? What to buy? Who did he tell? My husband. Okay, so you can see in bold are the indirect objects, underlined are the direct objects. And if we were to do this in Russian, this is how it looked. Она читала детям сказку. The direct object is getting accusative case. Okay, so, and that's why understanding what the direct object is also important. So she read to the children a story. Я приготовлю тебе кофе. Кофе didn't change because it's not a feminine singular, so no change. Then он сказал моему мужу, что купить. Он сказал моему мужу, что купить. He told to my husband, he said to my husband what to buy. And now let's look how those like I wasn't paying attention questions, how you'd say them in Russian. Что она читала? Чего? Кому она читала? Кому? Кому она читала? Детям. Что она читала? Сказку. Что я приготовлю? Где я? Что я приготовлю? Кофе. Кому я это приготовлю? Тебе, мне, right? Okay. Then next one. Что он сказал? Он сказал, что купить. Кому он это сказал? Моему мужу, right? So that's where you can see it breaking down into the direct and indirect object. And so we need the dative case for the indirect object. And I'd say that's almost the most often, it's used most often, and it's really hard to really detect why is this getting dative case if you don't understand what an indirect object is. So that is all for today's lesson. If you want to follow along with my university students, you can go to collegerussian.com. The link is in the description, and download this big, beautiful worksheet. It's like 11 pages long. It's got all these pretty charts and exercises and fill in the blanks. And so you can download that and follow along with these videos and drill yourself on the dative case. So tomorrow we will come back and we're going to do the comprehend part of PCP. And that's where we break down. We just sit down, gosh dang it, and we just learn those freaking endings, because guess what? They're not going away. You got to learn them. And so I don't really emphasize doing this all day, every day in class, but one day, just sitting down and focusing just on drilling those endings is perfectly acceptable. And then from there, once you've got them down in your head, then we get to start doing the fun stuff and having conversations and talking about stuff. and pretending we're buying presents and that kind of thing. So you'll see that with some of my actual students. I'll do sample video lessons with them, and you'll get to see what happens when we start to produce these cases in context. So that's everything. Come back for tomorrow. This is where we'll be drilling the case endings. Хорошо, это все. Желаю вам счастливого дня, спокойной ночи и увидимся завтра. Пока.